Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, we will understand how to use CSS Selector with ID. If a web element has ID, you can use ID attribute for CSS Selector. This is the syntax, and the syntax is tag name, hash, ID. This hash is used to symbolize ID attribute, and it is mandatory to use hash sign if ID attribute is being used to create CSS Selector. So as soon as you type tag name and you write hash, then Selenium will understand that you are going to use ID to, to locate an element. So this is a screenshot I have pasted of a HTML DOM. Here we have couple of attributes. This is a input tag. It is having type, class, name, ID, data test ID. So we are going to use ID. So what would be the syntax here? It would be tag is input, after that hash, and then we will write the value of id. The value of id is email. That's why we have typed email here. So this is our syntax to locate id using css selector. Let's understand this on a web application. So I have opened a Facebook page. I will inspect this email address here, and then we will use a css selector. So as you can see it here, the tag is input, and then we have id as email. So I will press Ctrl F, then tag is input, and as we are going to use id, we have to write hash. I will type hash, and then the value of id. Value of id was email. Id is email. Let me maximize it little bit. You can see it here. The id is email, so I will type email. As soon as I type email, it is showing 1 of 1, and it is highlighting this one. On the right hand side, you can see it here. It is highlighting in yellow color. On the left hand side, it is highlighting the element on the web page. If you guys have noticed, I have not used any single quote or double quote for the ID value. And even if I use it, it will not work. It will show 0 of 0. So we have to make sure then when we are using CSS selector with ID, we should not enter ID value in single or double quote. That was the reverse case in XPath. So when we were using XPath, we used to enter all these values inside single quotes. But we don't have to do that in CSS selector with ID. So we have mentioned input tag, hash, and ID value. That's why we are seeing as it is showing as 1 of 1. If I do not mention tag, what will happen? I will just enter hash and email. Then also you can see it here. It is highlighting this element. So then why we should use tag? We should use tag to make sure it locate exact element which you are looking for. Right now this ID is a unique in this whole page. That's why it is displaying 1 of 1. But it might be the case that this id email, it might be the same value for any another element. That's why it is necessary, it is recommended to use tag when you are using css selector. So let's use this one. I will type again input hash email. It is highlighting this one, and if I highlight password, if I want to locate password with the help of css selector and id, then id is pass. Then if I type here pass, it will locate this particular element. Let's use this in our code. Let me create a css selector class. I will copy the existing class and I will rename it as css selector. So this is my CSS selector class. So now we will use Facebook page. I will launch this URL, and I have already created a driver instance. I have launched a URL. I have added a line to maximize the window. Now we will find the element. So what we will use driver.find element, driver.find element. This time we will use by dot CSS selector, this one. And then the expression. Our expression was input hash email. And what we are going to do with this element, we are going to enter a value. Then I will use send keys and whatever value we want to enter. I will enter my channel name, which is automation rail, and I will enter value in password as well. Then driver dot find element by dot CSS selector, and then the expression was input hash pass dot send keys and the value. If you have noticed, it is very easy to write CSS selector. Let's execute this code. It has launched the browser. It has opened facebook.com, and you can see it here. It has entered automation rail in email field, and it has entered some password. It has entered password in password element. So in this video, we learned how to use CSS selector with ID, and that's all for this video. We will learn another type of CSS selector in next video. Till then, happy learning.